The official UK Beef Magazine podcast. Hey guys, welcome, a very big welcome to all of you first time listeners to the UK Beef. Neale's picking his nose. How can I work like this?
Yeah, right, protein powder. Start again, isn't it?
Alright, no picking noses. I'm going to minimize this, I can't do it. Alright.
Can I wank?
No.
Boring.
Alright, this is got it's got to sound serious. It's got to sound. Alright. Hi guys, a very big welcome to the very first ever UK Beef Magazine podcast. You're here with me, Zuki Z, your host, and I'm with my co-host today. Very exciting. I've got my co-host with me, Neale, Cranwell, and Robbie and Chant. Guys, could you say hello quickly?
Hello, quickly.
Hello, guys. I'm live from Crunch Gym. We work every day at Crunch Gym. No holding back.
Brilliant stuff. Now, guys, we've got a really packed show for you today. We've got lots of interesting topics to discuss, and we're just going to try and get through as much of it as we can. Hope you guys enjoy it. So we're literally just going to... Rob, could you give us a quick 2-second rundown? Just introduce yourself to all the guys who might not have heard of you, and just let them know who you are.
Hi, I'm Rob Sullivan Monster, and who am I? Who are any of us?
What are you doing?
I don't know. Well, I used to be a bodybuilder. Right. Now I'm just a fat bloke. So, yeah. And, yes, I help get people ready. I help train people, get them ready for shows, that sort of thing. That's what I do full time. And I'm damn good at it. And I'm mean. Brilliant. And I make people throw up. And what else do I do? Yeah, I make them throw up just by looking at them because I am that ugly.
That's how you get your weight loss results, is it? Brilliant.
That works.
That works. Brilliant. Cheers, mate. And Neale, could you give us a quick introduction, mate?
Yeah. So I'm Neale Cranwell. I own Crunch Gym. I've owned it for over 10 years. It's in Essex in Waltham Abbey. So we have a team of competitors within the gym, but I also help guys online, or those just need help, starting out in the gym and want to just take them first steps, because we was all there at one time in our lives. I've competed for 20 years alongside Robbie, when he wasn't quite so heavy boned. And
are you calling me Cartman?
I mean, we become good friends through competing, sharing hotel rooms, stinking them out with post competition junk food that affects your guts, and through the love of our backdoor activity, we became very good friends.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
definitely.
So now 20 years down the line, I've obviously learned a lot more about myself and other people. So I've sort of pride myself in getting in very hard condition, and almost every person that I get involved with and help their condition will always be one of the most shredded or detailed on stage.
Brilliant.
It's something that I can do very well. Some other coaches are great at getting people really big beyond belief. I'm really got a good mindset into the diet side of things, and it's something I enjoy, to challenge my physique. So that's kind of what I've done. I mean, I've won lots of competitions along the way. Some of the competitions that people have heard about will be things like Mr. Universe or Mr. World, European champions and British champions. I mean, I think in 20 years, I've actually competed over 50 times, which on average is about sort of 3 or maybe 4 shows every year. So it's a habit now to me. It's a habit I enjoy. I want to still do it. And, I'm 41 now. I'm no spring chicken, but I still really enjoy, the process of it all. And, to be honest, if it was taken away from me, I would be a bit of a lost lamb in the world with, because I think the big thing about bodybuilding is it keeps people grounded, and it gives them a sense of purpose when perhaps life around them can go sideways. Bodybuilding will still be there no matter what's going on in life. I've experienced some ups and downs like everyone, and the only thing that's kept me focused through it all is to be able to to do my training and to be consistent with a diet, even when the world's feeling a bit blue around you. So, I mean, that's a big benefit, and I think it gets people off the streets. And there's a lot of good things to say about it. There's a lot of negatives that you could say about it also, but it's something that I plan to do for another probably 10 years.
Brilliant.
Maybe at a slower pace, but yeah. So that's me really.
Brilliant. So we'll have you around for the podcast for a while. That's guaranteed, is it? Brilliant.
Well, yeah, you got 10 more years of me waffling. But so tell us about you, Z. So obviously, I've met you fairly recently. You actually come to the gym, and Rob, just to let you know how I met Z, he came to the gym, didn't even look at the gym, what equipment we had. Now, most members will come to my gym and say, how much is it? What does it cost? They worry about price before they even care what's in there. That's the way of the world these days. Dookie came into the gym and said, I just got one question about your gym, without even seeing what type of gym it was. Can I film? Can I film my training?
Can I film? Is that it?
You must have been thinking.
Wow.
Like 10 years, I've never been asked if I could join the gym because I can film myself. But that's the way of the world. I mean, Zuki's a lot younger than us, and Instagram and social media is a massive thing.
Yeah.
He's got a great YouTube page, and you could perhaps mention that and let people know.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, maybe I can get you ready for a show. What do you reckon, Zuki?
Well, I'm 2 months. Well, basically, yeah. Like I said, I walked in the gym with. I've been looking for a gym for about. Going on for 12, 15 months, just going from gym to gym, just couldn't find, nothing felt right. Like the personal trainers, you looked at them and you're thinking, is it like, what am I doing here? And I walked into Crunch and I thought, like, hang on, this is a bit different. There's this huge bloke sitting behind the counter. I was like, whoa. I was like, mate, like, first of all, like, because I'd had some issues with recording, and it's obviously sometimes a bit of an issue. Some people don't like to be in a shot, so I was like, I just want to record some PRs. Would you mind? Would you mind if I got some footage? He was like, mate, it's not a problem. You can record all day. What? I'm not even gonna. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much a newcomer to this, and since then I've just been sort of watching Neale carry on. It's just been one of the craziest gym experiences. I've been a member of quite a few gyms, and I can honestly say I've never been as pumped and just juiced for my training and just seeing.
You see, that's why I've offered. You see, I've offered to get you ready for Mr. Gay UK.
I think you have to be gay to get into that one.
You don't have to be, Z. That's what I like about you. You're very versatile. You're a man of the world, and you have a very open mind, which is very amazing. Really,
that's about the only thing that's open to anything.
I mean, be careful.
He's such a liar, Neale. Look at all the other clients in your gym. I think there was another reason he came to your gym, Neale.
I mean, Robbie, there's a few untruths we could say about your client base. Let's say who's got the majority of the pink pound between us, shall we? Certainly not me.
Just because they wear white underwear all the time and never stain them, which I still can't work out how they do it. I'm very impressed, actually. I'm like, why do you not wear white underwear? It's amazing. It's like, I would never dream of it. I'd wear brown underwear for obvious reasons, but never white.
That's probably because of all the enemas.
Guys, I'm gonna pull this in. Rob, I'm gonna just jump back to your question. You were asking me if I'm gonna be competing. Not quite yet, mate. Is the quick answer to that. Before we're literally about to jump into our first question, but we're just gonna take a moment just to thank UK Beef for. Anyway, I'm gonna just thank them for letting us host their podcast. This is a tremendous honor and a privilege, just to be part of something this exciting. So first question, if you don't mind me asking, Neale, obviously you mentioned you've got the PCA British finals coming up this Sunday. Can you talk us through how you're feeling, what your thoughts are going into it, everything around it? Just give us where you're at right now in terms of your contest prep and all the rest of it. And it just goes so Neale's preparing for a competition, so that answers your question. There's someone who's ready. As a first question, is that all right? If we, and then it leads on to the questions that I had about contests, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So, but I mean, I find personally, after competing for so many years, is when you're this close to competition, is actually very easy. I mean, like years gone by, people or newcomers to prep will say that the final 2 weeks or 4 weeks or so, are the dark places, the hard times, and they are, but you're in shape, or you should be in shape within, in my view, 2-3 weeks early. So, all you're really doing is coasting along, and you're in really good shape. Your body's, body fat is very low. Your metabolism's running very fast. So, by this stage, the food for me goes back up. The hardest part for prep of me is the start point, because you've been in an off-season plan where you can eat as you kind of wish, or even if you follow an off-season diet plan, there's variety and there's meals out and there's a lot more, it's a lot more liberal, and it's not so strict and restricted. And when you then get into, for me, it's like, the 12-week mark, it's time to get to serious, I normally sort of clean the diet up sort of 14 weeks out, give myself a couple of weeks to kind of feel into it, but if I fancy something here and there, I'll have it. And then from 12 weeks, it's all business. And that's the bit I find hard, is just because you just, all of a sudden, you're restricted, all of a sudden you have no choices, you've just got the plan. And as soon as you're not allowed things, you crave them. It's that's the hard thing. And obviously at that point, you're still, fairly out of shape as such for competition, that you condition that you need. So you feel kind of fat, you sort of progress on with a diet, and then you look like skinny fat. And you feel like I'm fucking, I'm restricting myself here, and I'm looking, not looking as ripped as I want to be. And then as the diet goes on and on and on, and your metabolism gets faster because your body fat gets lower, for me, my food, like everyone's, will get lower. My cardio perhaps goes up. And then when I get to sort of like the 8-week mark there, my metabolism is running pretty fast, so the cardio gets to cut down, the food gets to go up, and you're almost in like this honeymoon period of, well, now I'm actually eating as much or more than I did at the start of the diet. But because I've been restricted for so long, I'm hungry and I actually want to eat these plain foods. Whereas the start point of the diet, it all feels a bit boring. Do you know what I mean? Without the flavours, the sauces, this, that, and the other that you were having off season. So now it's actually quite easy in that respect. And like for an example, for me now running into this show and running into the show that I've just done at Body Power, is my diet. If I was to tell other competitors my diet, I'll tell you, what I eat. I'll keep the secrets though, but I'll tell you the basis. People will be hurting. People will be on 0 carbs or very low carbs and depleting workouts and tons of cardio and that stuff. And I have done that in the past. And when I didn't know my body so well, I used to think take away carbs, lower your calories, push more. The harder the diet, the better you'll look. And, after a few years, I worked out, actually, it's not the hardest diet that wins. It's the smartest diet that wins. So don't work against your body, work with it, feed your metabolism, but you have to get your body fat low to a point where it wants the food, it can utilise the food. So, like, for example, now at this point in my diet, I'll have like 2 low days, and my low days are still, we're looking at 5 carb meals and 2 meals without carbs in. Wow. Now, a typical other competitor may have just carbs, maybe a small bowl of oats for breakfast, and the rest of it is, veg and fish or chicken or something. And that has to be done by some people. But fortunately, my body works very fast at processing carbs. So they actually speed my metabolism up. My body doesn't work well with fat. So majority of people will lower their carbs and increase their fats and its energy source. My body goes very slow with that, and my metabolism gets sluggish. It doesn't utilise them very fast. My hunger goes down, which is a good thing with fats if you're dieting, but it's a bad thing for me in that my condition goes very, very soft. So other people, if they eat too many carbs, perhaps their condition goes soft. But my condition goes harder for more carbs and less fat. So my low days are probably about, looking at maybe 250, 300 grams of carbs. And, some people eat that in the off season. And then I'll have a high day on the third day, and that will be carbs at every meal. And you're looking at maybe 100 grams of carbs at every meal. So there's 6 meals like that. And my 7th meal is egg whites and an unlimited amount of kids cereal. So it's
so your kids are going with that cereal for your prep.
Kids cereal. So it'll be a box of it's actually a high day for me today. So it's a good day and in my life, because I get a choice of cereal to eat, and it'll probably be like Cocoa Pops or Rice Krispies, and I'll throw a few raisins or whatever in there, and I'll have a cauldron of it, not a bowl. I have the biggest cooking thing I can find, and I'll ram that thing full, and I'll eat it. The thing is, high days for me are refined carbohydrates. So they're white rice, white cream of rice, white potatoes, white rice pasta, things that have been processed and refined. My body really uptakes them well, and I don't bloat. And that's the key, is not bloating, because when you're on a low carb diet, you want slow digesting carbs like sweet potatoes, brown rice, stuff that takes hours to break down, because otherwise you're going to be hungry all day. But when you're eating 7 meals a day and you're probably in the range of like over 1,000 grams of carbs, you don't want that sluggish stuff, because you'll be bloated and trumping like a good and blowing the roof off your house at night and all that business. So, it goes a little bit against the grain. I'm not into if it fits your macros. I'm not one of them whatsoever. But I've just found out that eating more refined carbs, as long as they're from like a natural source and they're not pre-packaged, apart from the kids' cereal, is something that I do once I get this lean. So I haven't done it the entire prep, but I do it once my body fat is kind of, say my show weight's 102 kilos on stage is a general show weight for me. When I get to about 104 or 5, where you're looking really pretty close to it, metabolism's running fast, that's when I'll switch it up and put that in. And when I do that, I'll wake up the next day, and because of the thermogenic effect of eating carbs, and I'm really hot all night, I'll wake up and I'll have lost probably about 1 kilo from it. And then when I go back to my low days, I don't lose any weight. Because your metabolism gets a jolt, it loses weight, it stabilizes. I then throw another high day in, and that's just me. I'm not saying that's the way to do it for anyone, and that's the way that I found works for me. I prep lots of people. I never prep too many people, because I think that you should really do more than, I would say, sort of, once you're hitting double figures with your prep clients, you lose focus and it becomes very un-individual. And there are other coaches out there that just take hundreds of people on, and they sort of almost generically give answers and stuff. And I'm the sort of coach that will phone the client and have a conversation. How's their life? How's the other aspects, the stresses, the sleep? Because it all fits into the plan. But some coaches won't communicate unless it's via email, which, I don't think it's right. I'm still old school. If I can get a client to come to Crunch, can see them in person, sit down and talk to them, feel you get a much better relationship. And also, you can't pinch fat by looking at a photo. No. You get that person to strip off in front of you, and I can pinch an inch. I can see where the fat deposit is. Whereas with a photo, you can send a decent photo to, and most people don't send their worst photos, so you don't see the actual truth. And that's shown on Instagram. I mean, these people on Instagram look fantastic, and it depresses and demoralises lots of general gym goers, because their kind of role models are so far, from where they are. But if them gym goers just went to the body one, they bumped into their role models, their idols, and they think, oh, these people look pretty fucking average. There's a lot can be done with photoshops and filters and whatever, and I think it's worth going to Body Power. I mean, you went to Body Power for your first time this year.
Yeah, that was insane.
What your experience of that was.
That was insane. I mean, just going on from what you said, like from seeing my first bodybuilder, you see the variety. Some guys were sort of a lot bigger, but you on stage stood out for your conditioning. That's what in my mind, you just look peeled. I saw you. I hadn't seen you that week at the gym. I think you've been keeping your head like, we missed you. I hadn't seen you in a week. So the first time I saw you was on this Saturday, a couple of hours before you stepped on stage, and you looked absolutely peeled. You looked like literally, it was like two people almost. It was no fat. You pulled up your shirt and it was just like these chiseled abs. I just thought like, so when you stepped on stage, that conditioning, so that for me was probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And then the posing, all of that, and I realized that not all posing is done the same. People just throw the shapes, but some people actually feel the shapes and make it sort of a big movement. So that was really interesting for me. So I mean, all of this, if you're someone that's new to bodybuilding fitness, is for me like I am. All of it's quite brilliant to hear. And if you're listening and you're a bodybuilder, pro bodybuilder, this is definitely worth looking Neale up. His conditioning and his stage conditioning for me blew my mind. So it's just worth tapping into that resource. And then that's how I felt about it. I came back. I was like, I literally came back from Body Power, and I said, right, I'm gonna get shredded. I started a 21-day shred program. I just left feeling like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. That was pretty much how I came away.
So how is this 21-day shred? I've seen a few of your YouTube videos that you do daily. Looks like things are progressing. I think it's a good thing. 21 days. People want to achieve a look in a short period of time, and I think having something to follow, like a plan or following your plan, is a good thing. How's the response from that going?
Yeah, mate, there's lots of people asking me like, is it working? How you feeling? Do you feel hungry? I mean, I feel a bit hungry because I've cut from the diet that you gave me. I've cut out a meal. And I started on that diet feeling quite full. I'm thinking it's a lot of food because it was more food than I was eating. Then I got to the point where that was not enough food, and then I cut that. So I've cut a meal. Now I'm quite hungry all the time. So it's like my metabolism's gone right up. So now I'm like, hang on a minute, like I was like pretty much. But this because there's only about 10 days left, so I'm going to be cutting the calories even further now. So it's going to get interesting for the next 10 days or so. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to the end results, really, and that's going to be the next time I'm on Instagram. It's all on YouTube at the minute. But, yes, it's really exciting. It's just like seeing things, seeing people doing it, and you say, hey, like, literally, this is possible. These guys are doing it. That's pretty much what you guys do in terms of PTs and bodybuilders. That's you're there to inspire. Otherwise, in my mind, anyway. But yeah, so that's what I came away with from that weekend. But yeah, good stuff, really good stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you mentioned posing, and actually, the weird thing about bodybuilding, if people don't really look into it that far, is it's one of the only sports, if you want to call it a sport, where the activities you do in training, which is obviously the lifting weights and the training you do in the gym, they don't relate to what you do on stage. You don't lift a single weight on stage. All you're doing is posing and flexing. And, every other sport you can think of, if you're a football player, you practice football. If you run 100 metres, you run 100 metres in training. But in bodybuilding, you don't do what you do in the gym. And now that's where people fall foul, is they can lose a couple of placings because they haven't practiced posing enough. And in fact, Robbie is a very, very good posing, good at posing and a good posing coach. And I've been to Robbie. He's a poser, and I've been to Robbie myself to go over, because you have a routine in bodybuilding, which is normally a minute and a half. And Robbie's got some good ways of accentuating different standout poses, that kind of thing, and. And I think people overlook that because they're so busy training and hitting their cardio and then dying on their diet that they don't give any time to, actually putting in what they're going to do on the stage, which is the posing. And if anyone has everyone been on stage or practiced posing properly, it's hard work. Your heart rate flies up. It's probably harder than cardio in my thought. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have. What's his name? Ben Fatto. I can't think what his first name is. He was an old school bodybuilder. Francis Ben Fatto, yeah. And he came to Crunch. He done a seminar at Crunch, and we had him there, and he done posing in the studio. And he's got a fantastic physique, even at his age now. But what made his physique amazing was the way he was so fluent and transitioned from one pose to another. It almost didn't look like a sport; it looked like art. And he had a way of bringing that across on stage. Now, when you get on stage, you've got 2 seconds or maybe a minute to make a first impression, and having that confidence, that air, and them sort of poses will really, turn the judges' heads. So I think it should certainly never be overlooked.
You can tell the difference.
You can tell the difference, and I've beaten guys which have more muscled than me, just as conditioned as me, and when I'm standing backstage, I think, oh shit, my work's cut out here. But then when you get on stage and you see him pose, you're like, you are making yourself look worse than, rather than better. That comes with experience. But really, you should get a posing coach, because you can't see your flaws when you're just posing in the mirror. And if you're creating a bad habit, you continue with that bad habit because you know different. So, even at my age now, I'll go and see Rob, because good friends, and he's great with posing, and we'll go through posing, and he'll say, well, maybe you should put your arm here rather than there, try your leg in this position, and just bring up things which then you practice, and they become second nature. Because when you're on stage, there is no mirrors. You've got no mirror to adjust yourself. You're just looking out into these bright lights. So it needs to feel like second nature. You should need to strike that pose, and you're perfectly within it. And and you see guys, for me, the worst kind of poses are those that kind of get in position and they kind of bounce around in that position from side to side or whatever. I think, you look confident, hit that pose, hold it, stand firm, big confidence, look about you or smile, and, try and feel like you're owning that pose. And if you've got a few little tricks up your sleeve or a few slightly different poses just to separate you from the others, I think that's not a bad thing to have.
I think it's what separates, like you said, like the winning and losing it sometimes. But do you mind if I just bring Robbie into this? Like he's sitting there, and I just wanted to ask him. Obviously, Neale's just said you guys do a lot of work together around competitions, and you used to compete a lot yourself. So we just heard about Neale's take on competing in contest prep and all the rest of it. What would you say? This is my next question, really. What would you say is your what do you love and hate about bodybuilding, contest prep? What do you love about it? What can't you stand?
Well, I'm very hard. I find the diet very hard.
Yeah.
Neale finds it easy, but for me, it's literally like hell on earth.
Yeah.
So my low carb days are, I take about 3 or 4 of them, depending how fat I am. My low carb days are literally between 70 and 100 grams of carbs a day for my low carb days. And my high carb days would be, or I'll stick a medium one in there, and that'll probably be about 150 to 200 maximum. But even then, my body seems to love holding water and fat. It just loves it. And as I've got older, I found it so much harder. So, I will go back and do another show, because I think it's so important to just challenge yourself here and there. There's no point talking about it. I think sometimes you've got to live it, and you've got to just breathe it, and you've got to say, right, there's no point me telling everyone how to do it if I can't do it myself. But what's interesting is, as I've got older, how my metabolism has changed. It's slowed down now. I'm actually quite old. I'm older than Neale by a good 4 years, but my body type is slightly different. So I'm about 45 now, and I have to do like literally probably 2.5 hours of cardio a day, and about 3 training sessions a day, just to keep the metabolism really, really high. And then also drink quite a bit of water as well to make sure the thyroid and the iodine is high, to keep my metabolism up. So because I'm the kind of guy, when I'm off season, I get fat. I get fat off season.
Would you say you bulk up?
Well, yeah, not bulk up, but literally, let's just say my off season weight is about 16.5 stone, and my contest weight is probably just underneath 14 stone. So that's a lot of weight to lose. That's like, what's that, 3 stone to lose, which shows you how much fat I'm actually carrying at the moment. So I think it's important to actually have that ability to keep moving fat in and out and so on, and just being able to control your body, because that's what bodybuilding, I suppose, for me is about, is actually being able to strip away the water and the fat and seeing what muscle actually underneath. And what's so scary for me is when I've done that and I've stripped away all that fat and water, I look how small I am and I think, gosh, I've trained for all these years and I'm actually not very big, or not as big as I want to be, sort of thing. So it's a bit of a shocker sometimes, but at the same time, it's a welcome kind of distraction, if you like. It's important, I think. I think it's very important.
Yeah. I think, if I could just interject, Robbie puts himself down in that respect, because Robbie is one of the most heavily muscled, short-ass competitors that should have won Mr. Universe and probably gone on and got a pro card when he was in the peak of his career, because like the muscle bellies and the fullness and the size of his limbs on such a short frame is almost perfect for bodybuilding, and he done fantastic internationally, and he could have just, if he could have just kept going then, you know, and I've said it to him several times, but you know, like to me, like I would have done anything for that amount of muscle. It's the difference between me and Robbie is I had the clarity to work harder through the dark times of the diet, whereas Robbie would get to the hard times of the diet and he would just be like, no, this is fucking hard enough.
It's hard.
And
it's
not
hard.
get them like dark places which show that extra bit of condition. But with that, you know, when you take that last bit away, it can make you look like a stone bigger on stage, because you know, the fat is not there and your muscle seems to look even larger. But I mean, we all go through this skinny fat. I feel small because I've lost the fullness and the size and the stuff like that. But I mean, that's part and parcel of getting into serious shape. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you do a comeback, Robbie, I'll be your first fucking supporter of that, because I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that come back, and I'd love to go away and compete, you know, again with you. You know.
I'd love that, mate. You can be my gauze holder. Would you be my gauze holder?
I'll hold your gauze. You hold my the lube. Yeah.
So you hate the dieting. What do you love about this? What do you love about? Is there, you know, like
I love transformation. I love the transformation, and I was kind of born to be on stage.
Yeah.
So I'm the kind of person who loves the limelight. I love the posing. I love bringing the audience, shall we say, back into bodybuilding. So I love doing those poses. I'll go on stage with swords and nunchucks and stuff, and people just go, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, this is a bodybuilding show, not a martial arts weapons display. You know, and that's the idea, because I for me, I love being that kind of entertainer. Hence the reason I'm also a pro wrestler. So I love that entertainment kind of value. I want people to. Sometimes I forget about winning, and I want people to literally think about, remember that guy with the silly hair and the big sword and the funny eyes, and that's literally the only thing they remember from the show, you know. So, but then, like I said, my problem is my priorities changed, because after doing about 10 years of shows back to back, you kind of stop and take stock of what you're doing, and you think, am I enjoying doing this anymore? And there came a time for me when it got so difficult and so hard that it was very, 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 very monotonous. And I guess I stopped enjoying that feeling. You know, I think somewhere along the line I thought to myself, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I'm just kind of doing it for the hell of it, really. And I'm not doing it to win. And that happened to me the last time I stepped on stage, which was actually April of last year. Where I just sort of said to myself, right, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to look fairly good, but I wasn't that interested in winning, and I realise now I have to take a little bit of a longer step away and get hungry again for winning. And Neale's great at that. Neale's great at motivating me. So when I see Neale on stage and I'm helping him, sort of like pumping him up backstage and stuff, and I see how much he enjoys going out there and how much he enjoys winning, it makes me excited again, and it makes me think to myself, right, you know, I can do that too. I can do that too. I just have to want to do it. You know, that's the hard thing. You know, I have to want to do it, and that's really what it is. I think with bodybuilding for me is losing. I lost the mojo a little bit, as in I just didn't want it anymore. I didn't want to be that guy anymore, should we say? And for me, as soon as I get that back, because it's just, I can feel it. It's steadily coming back. You know, the more I'm hanging out with Neale, the more I'm watching him win. I've been thinking, yeah, this would be fun, and we could do this thing together and stuff. I mean, some of my best. Isn't it? It is. It's very infectious. You know, it's just like going to a gym with, and you've got a load of people in the gym, and everyone's getting ready for a show and stuff like that. Everyone's looking to everyone else for sort of inspiration and stuff like that, and that's what I do with Neale and stuff, and that's what his members do with him at his gym. You know, they look to him for inspiration, and they realise, wow, we've got a world champion at our gym and stuff. We've got guys continually competing, and we got a guy who's winning, and he's looking really great, and it really helps people. It really motivates people to want to. To carry that on. Hence the reason where, whoever Neale sort of gets ready or preps for shows always comes in fantastic condition and usually wins the entire show. So, I mean, I think I will come back at some point, but it's trying to get hungry to do it. And now that I'm married.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Rob. Great wedding.
Yeah, thank you. So now that I'm married, I have to do exactly what my wife tells me to do. So otherwise, there's going to be trouble. There's going to be trouble.
but I've been told your wife would like a six pack. Is that would be like a nice little byproduct? She wants you to have a six pack. She wants you to have a six pack. Sorry,
yeah, she does. But I told her it's already in the fridge, so she can have it whenever she wants. Gosh, some people.
So I mean, that might be
what they want, but they don't know how much it hurts to maintain a six pack. You know, it really isn't. It is quite painful. I literally have to go to sleep every night hungry just to make her happy. Do you feel like that, Neale?
I mean, I like that. That is actually the arse sake. I mean, for me, there's two issues I have with competing or prepping. And that is one of them. Like every night, I'm almost antsy because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Your calories in the evening, and for me, I've always took the carbs out in the final meal or two. So the process of the food is a lot faster because there's not as much bulk there. And I'll be sitting there. My missus, who used to compete in bikini for years, her name's Georgia Simmons. If people probably know who she was. Or is. She doesn't do it anymore, but she's got a fantastic body, and she can live and breathe on chocolate mini rolls, Jaffa cakes, and all the rest of it, which she'll happily eat in front of me every night. I mean, look, it is, some partners really support, those competing, and they wouldn't eat that kind of food around them because they could do it when they're not around them. But I'm not thrusting the competition on her. It's my choice. I'm a big believer in like having a happy home, and I wouldn't want to be this person say I'm dieting, so you can't eat anything you want to eat around me, and that causes a stress. And it's the same. I've got two kids, and they've got a cupboard, and it's full of their kids' food, and I wouldn't ever stop them going. I mean, I take them to McDonald's, and I'll just have a coffee while they have McDonald's, because all kids want a treat at McDonald's every now and then. And I think that just because this is my choice, it shouldn't affect those around me or those that you love. Why should they have to suffer because you've chosen to suffer? And if I ever moan about it, she's quite blunt with me, and she says, "You chose to starve on your diet. There's people in other countries that are starving because they're born into that. You could eat, but you're choosing not to. It's your choice." And to be honest, she has got a point. Like, we're doing this. We're not making fortunes out of it. It pays very little. It's not my career. It's not my profession. It's something I've taken on as more than a hobby, but it's something that I love doing. But I don't think it should really, cause a strain on your home life.
No.
Just because you're choosing this, abnormal, strict diet. So that's one of the things I don't enjoy. Like Rob says, is you do go to bed hungry, and I must wake up probably 4 times a night thinking I've got to go downstairs and smash that fridge. I've got to go down there and smash it. And then I'll say to myself, no, you're not going to smash it, Neale. Just go down there, make yourself, like a diet drink, because that'll do the job, or just have one bite of that one thing you're craving and go back to bed. But now I almost chain myself to the bedpost, because if I step downstairs, that one bite or that one soft drink turns into everything I can find in the kids' cupboard. And I wake up the next day like it was almost a dream. And I come downstairs. I've actually come downstairs and past it, and shit, we've been burgled. Who's all these plates and pots, and where's all the cupboards open? Someone's been rifling through the kitchen. And then I think, oh shit, that was me. And so now I restrict myself. I've actually got a cupboard and it's locked. Georgia's got a padlock on it.
No way.
Got her own code.
You've got a padlock.
Yeah. We've got a padlock. That padlock comes in about 4 weeks out, because at a sort of 4 week out mark, you can binge.
You do realise
and you can get away with it.
Yeah.
So now that padlock that is on, and I'll still check that it's locked. But
you have to make sure, don't you?
Just to make sure it's locked. Because if it's not locked one day, I'm like, oh dear, it's almost like fate. Perhaps I should just I'll have a look. I won't touch anything. I have a look. Oh dear, that's one cake. And then
you sound like a chastity belt. Do you always get? Do you get the keys confused then?
It's not good. So I mean, like Rob says, I'm good with dieting, and I am, but we're all human. Do you know what I mean? We are all human, and we all crave things from time to time, and you do get low blood sugar moments, and the first thing you want is that sugary sort of bad, fast food or sweet food or whatever that's not on your plan. So yeah, I mean that's one of the hard things, and the second hard thing for me is just the social life. I love the training. I actually love the prep diet, because I've got to focus on what to eat every day, and it's chosen for me, so I don't have to think. I actually like that regimented routine, but I hate the social aspects that get taken away from you. I mean, I'll still go out to eat with my family a couple of times a week, but your fun nights out, where you might have a couple of drinks, or you might even go clubbing, or you might go out with friends that are non-bodybuilders, I have to just avoid them, because otherwise you'll get kind of either you'll get sort of riled up into taking part of the night, or you'll be a boring ass that no one that's going home early because they can't get into it. So I miss that social side of things, and that's it. And again, it's because you can't have it. It's always what you can't have that you want. It's it's that. Yeah. It's that what's the word I'm after? It's that forbidden fruit that you can't have that you want. Where when I'm off season and I can eat what I want, I actually eat really healthy year round. I don't put on tons of weight after the show, because I've got the choice. I'll have a little bit here and there if I fancy it, but I tend to choose not to. I tend to just try and eat more of the right food. It's only when it's taken from me that I'm like, oh, you bastard. And I find myself watching all these food channels, like Scratch and Sniff TV. I'm like, I'm watching food channels, drooling. And somehow it actually makes me feel better, like I've watched someone eat. And sometimes I feed people. Like, I'll give my little boys chocolate, and I'll be like, is that nice? How nice is that? Let me buy you something else.
I saw a show on that, Neale. It was these really fat women, and there was these skinny blokes called feeders, and they would feed these really fat women. Wow. So do you do that to your children, do you?
No. My children, I wouldn't allow them to get fat. I think... I'm very old.
Is that what you're into, Rob?
Oh yeah, definitely, big time. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen them guys. I actually think there's nothing worse than seeing an obese child. I mean, it's
I suppose definitely.
It's not the child's fault, is it? It's the parents.
Yeah. So, but gentlemen, what just looking at the clock, we've had some great insight from you, Neale and Robbie, and got a couple of minutes left. We'll just touch briefly on a couple of things, but obviously, just to recap, we're actually all going up to Birmingham this weekend, aren't we? It's a PCA final, so we're going to catch the next podcast we have, hopefully, We're going to be talking through how that show went. We'll all have a different take on it, and it'll be a good show. So tune in. So definitely tune in for that one. Really excited myself personally. I'm like, easily excited. But we just had a couple of other issues. Obviously, sort of current events that we were going to be discussing. A couple of things that happening around in the UK that we were looking at. Obviously Manchester, and then last night, just to give you an idea, someone had touched on it briefly. What happened in London? Very sad. And just what your guys' take on it? Because obviously it might have affected some of our listeners, and just what do you guys think? And obviously I don't know if anyone's got the answers, but what do you guys think?
Well, I think it's interesting. We're living in a world now where it's all about the division between rich and poor. Trump's got into power, for example, and he's taking away all the tax returns from the extremely rich. What were they called? The Walton family have had a repeal. There's a bill called a repeal tax bill, which basically means the rich no longer have to pay their taxes. So I believe the Waltons save 52 billion on tax. And if you think the US spends 50 billion on weapons and armament a year, you'll realize how much that is. And obviously that money should go to the poor and so on. So there's now this bigger divide between the poor and the rich. And with the things that are happening with the religion and so on, they're trying to make it us versus them or and so on, and it's really, I'm not sure if that's what it's about. I'm wondering if that's like a smokescreen. I think personally it's all about power. Me personally, I think it's all about power and maintaining that power or getting that power through any means necessary. So if it means that we have to scare you, and make you vote for us, then maybe.
So you're almost saying that some of these plots are sort of orchestrated or backed by the governments or shady organisations, something like that.
Well, there was proof back in the day. Well, there was proof that 9/11 could have been an inside job to allow the Americans to go over to Iraq in order to steal the oil. It would make sense because their economy, and they were losing their oil fields and stuff, and their economy would crash, and therefore the rest of the world's economy would crash as well. So who knows if that was the reason? It might have been the reason, it might not have been. I don't know, but it seems a genuinely good reason. No one went into. There was a time when Czechoslovakia, for example, they had a civil war. They had a civil war, well, not a civil war, but they literally had concentration camps for Muslims in the 1990s. We were all alive in the 1990s. We all look at Auschwitz and go, "Oh, that was really bad." What the Germans did to the Jews in the 1940s, we all go, "Oh, that's really bad. That could never happen again." And then you see it happening in the 1990s to the Muslims and stuff. But the world did nothing about it because
I didn't even know what that happened.
Most people don't. Most people don't know that, But the reason is because there was nothing to gain. There was nothing to gain of going into that country and stopping that from happening. So because there's nothing to gain, people just don't do it. There's no oil there. There's no natural resources. There's no diamonds. There's no gas. There's nothing there. So therefore, they're thinking, well, why waste our money going over there? We're not going to get anything out of it. Oh yeah, we'll free a few people, but we're going to waste soldiers doing it. People might die doing it. So it's interesting. Like I said, we just live in a world of, I feel anyway, it's all about money. It's all about the power struggle. And sometimes I think this religion and politics is just a cover for trying to control people. That's what I think personally. What are your thoughts, Neale?
Well, look, if people don't know me, I used to be in the police, years ago. The swear word of I used to be in the police. So that was over 10 years ago. And, we'd routinely have briefings on the terror threats and we would see, I think it's come out on the news about this recent one in London that I think it was like 3-4 days prior, the Met were briefed on this weekend and how the terror threat was higher because of information they had. And that would obviously tie in well to how fast the, SO19, which is the armed police, were there on time. Because, I don't know if people know, but the SO19, there's a very few armed police in London, in the Met. And they're based at very sort of sporadic boroughs. So there's not one in every borough. There's not one right there and there where that happened. So they would be floating around them areas that the threats have been. Now, the point I always had when I was in the police, and you're told you can't go around and tell the members of the public or your loved ones of these threats that are going on. And to me, it's wrong. Like, I know it would perhaps scare the nation and stuff, but like, wouldn't you rather know that there's a threat that weekend and perhaps stay at home and not go out because, is a serious terror threat and these alerts are up, and the hospitals were warned that a lot of the London hospitals, accidents, emergencies were fully staffed and extra staff were brought in ready for the weekend, and you're like, that's not right to me. Don't sit right, There were certain things in the police like that which are the reasons that I left. And plus, you have to work with these job worths in the police that were bullied at school, and you get tarnished with the same brush, and that was never my deal either. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like this was, although they're classing it as a terror attack, or they're blaming it on the Muslim community. Again, trying to kind of, I don't know, almost scare the nation into this hatred towards Muslims. Yeah. From what I've seen in the news, I'm only watching in the news what's been said, and a lot of that time it's only filtered down to what they're allowed to say. I don't know if it's true, like, it seems random that like these people were stabbed and they're just saying this is for Allah, screaming at the top of their lungs whilst doing it. So, I don't know. I'm always sceptical about how the government are involved. If their knowledge is there prior to this, then for me, it makes me think, I don't know, maybe it was this set up to cause a rift in the upcoming general election, and the members of the public that were thinking maybe the Conservatives, because they haven't got a full backing of the public, and perhaps we'll bring in someone new and it's going to be a controversial vote. Maybe it will change the voting process because people would rather have some stability where everything around them seems so unstable. I mean, I don't know. I'm always a bit cautious, like, because we never know the actual truth of what's going on. I would love to know, the full facts that are never disclosed. So I really don't know.
I'm very cynical of a lot of politics going on. I really believe this story, the sort of storyline that was sold on the news. It's just me. I think there's always a deeper angle to most things that we see these politicians saying and doing. The things that happen, the reasons behind a war or an invasion. There's always another angle that and they'll say, in their mind, they're doing it to protect us. It's national security, but don't stand in front of a camera and lie to me. Rather, like you say, Neale, be upfront with us. What's wrong with being upfront? But this I don't think it's in their end game to be honest with people. But that's just how they've chosen to do things.
Like, as an example of one thing that springs to mind is, if you remember the Brazilian bomber that got followed by the police and shot down, and apparently it was a suicide bomber.
Charles de Menezes, the guy who wasn't actually a bomber.
Yeah, he was nothing.
And he wasn't, and they followed him from his home, and there'd been surveillance on him. They followed him all the way along, and all of a sudden, he was shot and he was dead. And it was controversial, and no one really covered it in the news. No. Like, there was no outcry. Where was the news about the police wrongfully shooting someone? Now, being in the police, you can't just sit on someone's house unless you've got tons of criminal intelligence and tons of like staking out the property and seeing, ties with terrorism. For them to follow this fella it's not just like, oh, my neighbour said that the guy next to me makes bombs. All right, so let's all sit in his house and follow him one day. It's not as easy as that. They have to get a court order and all the rest of it to be able to do this. This is something that would have been going on for years and years and years. And the fact that it's somehow that they've got all this intelligence and then all of a sudden, they've got the wrong man. That didn't sit right for me. And the fact that it was never really like talked hugely on the news, and it was kind of like just made me think, what? Like that was odd. That was not for me. That didn't sit right. And there's lots of things like that don't sit right, and you'll never know. So I don't know. For me, it's all a bit like the Matrix. You take the red pill or the blue pill, and most of the time we ain't got a choice. We just taking, I think, the blue pill, and we know nonetheless, But I mean, it's terrible what's happened. It's absolutely. I mean, I sat there this morning watching the news, and I'm like mesmerised by. I must have watched the news repeat over for about an hour in a trance, thinking, what the fuck is going on? Like what. We've got, I've got kids, people have got kids, you want to go to take them into London because, the sights of London, etc., or take them to the British Museum or somewhere where there's lots of tourists or lots of people. And you're like, I think I'll leave it. I mean, in fact, me and Georgia, on my other half, we since last year and since the 9/11, we won't book a holiday to any Muslim country. I mean, that's all, almost racist, really, because, but we just wouldn't put it in us because we booked a holiday to Egypt, and it was the day before we're due to fly. They had that terror attack on a plane, cancelled everyone's holiday, and actually moved us to go to some holiday in Cyprus. And we were going with the kids, and we were like, okay, let's just not go anywhere that is that country, that type of country, because. It just makes you think. But I mean, obviously, this is exactly what they want. So I don't know. It's just it's a shame. The world's just it just seems an unjust place, really. And it would be lovely to live in your bubble and forget it goes on, but it doesn't, and you do need to know it. I think you do need to know it because you've got to be grateful for your own life. Grateful for what you do. Because things like this can happen, and before you know it, you didn't get a chance to live. So that's really my thought on it. But obviously, I mean, what's happened there with yesterday, it's all the families and those that are left that are going to be suffering. For, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I couldn't think of anyone that I knew, family, friends, or whatever was involved there. I just. My heart goes out to them, and let's just hope something gets done, because that's 2 attacks in 2 weeks. It's like, something's going on here, and something needs to be done.
Because I wondered this when it was all happening and stuff. I was actually sitting in the cinema, and I didn't realise any of this was really going on. And then I was sitting with my sister in McDonald's and. Reading the news and stuff, and I sort of said to her, "There's more that's going on than what we see." I think there's. I sort of said to her, "What's obviously happened is there's been the Manchester attacks and so on, and I think the what we don't know about is obviously there must have been some kind of retaliations, and from those particular retaliations, by let's just say the British forces, etc., something's happened. So." And you've got this kind of either knock-on effect, or it's one of those JFK Princess Diana type conspiracies, where we're never going to know what really happened and stuff. We're never going to know were these people actually really assassinated, or was it truly an accident? And it was just we're just not privy to that information. We're just not. We'll go to our graves never knowing the true answer. The people in power, they're the ones that really know. But what I feel anyway is they're trying to separate us. They're trying to separate the races. That they're trying to say all Muslims are bad, etc., which is not true. It's bollocks. But they're literally trying to make us and them. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to cause that divide, because this is what happened. People don't realise this happened with the Nazis. Years and years and years of abuse. They used to literally take the pee out of about the Jewish people. They used to take the piss out of them, and they would just, eventually it became so indoctrinated that the Germans had no problem killing these people because they literally believed them to be less than people. And this is what I fear would happen with the Muslim community.
That's a scary thought, mate. That's a very scary thought. You think that's the road we're on? We're trying to.
You can see it. You can see it's happened in history. This is what people don't realise.
It hates Muslims so much that it's just carte blanche. We can kill them all.
This is what I'm scared of. I'm terrified of that. I'm absolutely terrified because then it's like, who's next? Who can we hate next, sort of thing. And this is it. This is what I'm saying. This is why this is so scary.
I mean, guys, like that's a very very thought-provoking point you make there. So, I mean, guys, guys, thank you so much for listening. We're approaching the full hour mark. We're not going to keep it going too much longer, but what I'd love you guys to do is really get engaged with the podcast. You've heard obviously the bodybuilding stuff. We're a bodybuilding podcast. We're going to be answering all your bodybuilding questions. If you guys can fling questions our way. We've got we're all on Instagram. I believe Neale Cranwell is at Neale Cranwell. Instagram is at Neale Cranwell, and I'm at zuki.z. Rob is at Rob.
Instagram, I think Rob's Still a Monster, and you can find me on Facebook as Rob Still a Monster. So yeah, that's where I am.
Have you got an email anyone can get in touch with you? I'm sure we'll decide which email we'll use, but just drop your email today and
we'll do. Not on me at the moment. No
worries. Neale, have you got some contact details? Just an email, or your preferred if you're on Facebook, if you're happy for people to find you on Facebook? Hello?
I think he ran off. I think he doesn't like it. But Crunch Gym, I believe, on Facebook for Nick.
At Crunch Gym, yeah. So
spelled with a K.
It's Crunch Gym spelled with a K. I just want to thank UK Beef Magazine just for letting us letting us get this going, and I'm just gonna obviously thank the supporters, the sponsors. I was hoping Neale would be able to do that, but we'll definitely get them in next week. We do have some brilliant sponsors behind this, so guys, I hope you've enjoyed what you've listened to. Cheers, Rob. What are you off to do now? Anything good?
Anything fun? No, really, I'm just hungry again. You lot make me hungry. Neale just continually talks about food, and it just makes me hungry.
I know.
Don't know what's wrong with the man. He's like a foodaholic or something.
Yeah, this is it. So basically,
I'm back, by the way.
You're back. We were just we're just giving some closing context. I was saying I'm at Instagram at ZukiZ, and YouTube. Find me on YouTube at Team Z TV. Neale, if you want to drop your contacts, and I was hoping you could give a shout out to the sponsors really quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if people want to contact me, any.
Sorry, Neale, could you come again? That cut out slightly.
Need to look at their help with their diet, or in life, or anything I can help with. I always answer Facebook messages, which is Neale Cranwell. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Crunch Gym with a K, so I'll answer them messages. But my email for what's that? Can you still hear me, mate?
Yeah. No, we've got you back now. We've got you back.
Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Never mind, he's cut out again. Don't worry, we've got him.
Just give it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I think your signal is a bit fading in and out a bit.
Yeah, it's well.
Yeah, he lives in
where I am
area.
It's fine, but I've got no charger, so. So I mean, the best thing to contact me is Neale, Neale, at crunchgym.co.uk, and that's with a K for Crunch Gym.
Yeah.
And I know the Beef Magazine is keen to give a shout out to Time for Nutrition because they're their main sponsors. And if people remember the old days of CNP when Dorian was involved in it, they've kind of taken on that that very same type of supplement range. So they're the ones to have a look out for if you're looking at sort of quality standard supplements from the Beef magazine. And is that us done, or is Robbie got to be done?
That's us. Great
done.
stuff, guys. Hopefully, when we're back next time, we'll be back from the show.